All right, welcome everyone to the second episode of the Dead Kings podcast. I'm David Lovewell.
Frank.
And Frank. We're going to start calling him Frankie Casanova. All right, so I petitioned our good chap, ChatGPT. What should we talk about? A little bit more nuanced than that. But anyway, we have this conversation started for us today. How does embracing our wild, untamed nature help us become more grounded, committed partners? So this is talking specifically as men in relation to women. Or as the masculine pole in relation to a feminine pole.
Yeah. Well, so I have heard before that a man trades his innocence for experience. And I think that a man's job is to provide, protect, and teach. And you have to have experience in order to do any of those three things. And, you know, an inexperienced man is not very good at providing or protecting anyone. Mm-hmm. You have to put yourself in situations, sometimes crazy situations, so that you can see how you'll measure up when the chips are down, when it matters, you know. And I think that's something that's been lost in modernity.
Yeah, it makes me think of, so you're saying trading innocence for experience, and this idea says of, embracing our untamed nature. That sort of presumes that we have an untamed nature, but most men in the modern world, I would say, don't. They have a very tamed nature. But we used to, you're saying we lost, we used to have these rituals, coming of age rituals, that would force people to face death, usually in some way or another, and come out changed on the other side of that. At least be faced with being forced to protect and provide for themselves, or to fail and fall to the wayside because they weren't able to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that we've lost those sorts of rituals delineating clearly the line between a boy and a man in today's society.
Certainly.
And there's a lot of psychological literature written about how we have like a nation, a culture of boys rather than men.
Yeah. And the really crazy thing is, I think that it's in our like genetic memory to crave that sort of rite of passage from boyhood to manhood, because our ancestors practiced it for so long. And I cast a wide net when I say our ancestors, because I'm speaking of a tradition that started with the like Proto-Indo-Europeans.
Human species, I mean every
maybe even before that.
Asian, African, all cultures did this.
Yeah, to some extent. I'm talking about one specific tradition, but they all have them.
There's, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but I think that that's, ingrained in our DNA, no matter who you are, because for so long it was a requirement to live in society. You have to be able to survive this gauntlet of trials before we will call you a man, before you're allowed to have a wife.
Yeah.
And like now anyone can do whatever they want, basically. If they can find a chick that'll put up with them, then there you go.
And I think it's equally as required today for different reasons.
Oh man, it's probably even more necessary now.
I would agree, actually. And it's more rare and more valuable also.
Yeah.
So I have two thoughts on this, and see if I can organize them and remember and say them both. One thing is that I feel like this encounter with violence, so that one is able to be calm in the face of potential violence and to not be reactive.
Yeah.
So you actually become a much more peaceful, reasonable, sane person through exposure to violence. And the lack of exposure leads it to reactionary, getting into a triggered, animalistic state of mind and acting without, choosing based on your higher faculties what is the best outcome for a situation. It's just reactive, and it's very animal-like.
Monkey brain.
Yeah, it's exactly that in the limbic system. And however, the converse of that, like training in martial arts, and specifically sparring and having these encounters with violence of some sort.
In a controlled environment.
In a controlled environment, sort of acclimates the nervous system to face danger and stay calm in the face of it. And living in a world where there is so much minor threats, we have a nervous system and brain with this negativity bias. I've talked about this before in the way that, if I don't notice a snake on the path, I could die.
Yeah.
But if I don't notice this ripe fruit or like something positive and good, if I don't notice it, I'm not gonna die for not noticing it.
Yeah.
But if there's a threat to my life, I'm programmed to notice it and react instantly without even having conscious thought. There's an adrenal dump and a reaction that just precedes thought. So we have a 5-to-1 negativity bias in noticing negative things, and living in the jungle where it was very clear like this thing could kill me or not. It made sense to have that system of response of adrenaline and everything. And the way that puts blood out in our limbs and stops us from resting and digesting, feeding and breeding.
Healing.
It's, this fight, flight, freeze thing.
Yeah.
We have sort of a minor drip of microdosing that all of the time in today's society.
Well, people are so averse to so many things. They're always running from something. And it's very seldom you find somebody with a goal that they're actually moving towards or running away. They're always running away.
I agree. And what I'm talking about is just that there will be minor stressors like, oh, my boss said this. I wasn't sure what he meant about that. And the rationalization, maybe the brain's thinking, I could be without money. I could be without food. I could die. And it's like, really, my boss just had a weird tone. But now my body's producing chemicals that should be reserved for life and death situations.
Well, because we don't have enough of them.
One could say. But I think that so that people constantly have this drip of cortisol and adrenaline much higher than our ancestors. I think it was like an all or nothing thing, and the all was much rarer and more interspersed, whereas now there's just this constant low-grade stress that people generally don't have the training or the awareness of how to process it out of their nervous system and how to relax fully. And that's its own thing, is like how to process that. When animals experience trauma, they shake and they release it out. But humans have forgotten how to do that, or at least find it socially unacceptable to do weird things like that. So most people stop doing that. But coming back full circle, training and being exposed to martial arts, which is one aspect of embracing our wild. If you want to go mountain climbing or doing extreme sports, these are other things that force you to remain calm and present and relaxed in the flow state in the face of mortal threat, danger to your life. And that develops a strength and a stability and a calmness into one's nervous system that makes them a really great partner. Because, like you said, that protecting and providing the overlap of that from a man to a woman this is a safe space. And whatever you're stressed about, I'm not going to feel stressed about. And my nervous system resonance is going to be stronger than yours. And you might be freaking out, but I'm going to relax and I'm going to feel like, I can see the bigger picture that everything's okay. I might not try to change you or do anything, but just holding you in the space of like, it's okay, honey, you're safe. I love you. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing service to provide for someone. And when people don't have that, they, a woman is upset about something and the man gets, dragged into it and then is upset, maybe becomes angry. And that is the most terrifying thing biologically to a woman is an angry man.
Oh, yeah.
So then this thing that's supposed to be a source of comfort and security then becomes a threat. So it's like just pouring gasoline onto the fire at that point. And so
You're supposed to be her attack dog. You're not supposed to attack her.
yes,
That's how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
She should feel safe walking around.
I don't know
no
about
matter
attack
where
dog.
you are.
That part of the metaphor.
It's the big scary dog effect.
Yes.
My fiance always talks about it. She would never go places that she goes with me by herself because she has the big scary dog.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm her big scary dog.
100%.
I'm barking at her.
And beyond that, just the stability of a rock, this thing that is unchangeable, unmovable, unflappable emotionally, that is something that you can't develop in yourself without embracing and integrating your wild, primal, predatorial, biological instincts that, are part and parcel of the physical vehicle that we're inside of. There's no getting away from it. So you either integrate it or you project it out in messed up ways and turn it against the people.
Well, how can you really know yourself if you had never been punched in the face? That's my opinion.
Yeah. Say more about it.
Well, I mean, okay, people these days, they're brought up a certain way. I guess everybody's brought up different ways from different people, whatever. But society imposes. We live in a dignity culture. We are beings that lived for so long in an honor culture, and we shifted to a dignity culture when society became more modernized. Do you know about this?
No. What is the difference between honor culture and dignity culture?
An honor culture is, so I can't recite it from the study that I read word for word, but an honor culture is like the Wild West. If you offend me, we're dueling, and you could die, and everyone's fine with that. Members of an honor culture are sensitive to offense and slight, but are not afraid to back it up, like to be their own police, essentially, to deal out judgment for it immediately.
Yes.
Klingons is an honor culture, obviously, just for a pop culture reference. A dignity culture is, instead of taking care of it yourself, you call the police. You have an authority figure that you can appeal to. And I think what we're actually looking at in modern society today is a maybe not so slow, gradual change from a dignity culture into what has been termed a victimhood culture.
Hold on, before we get into victimhood, sorry, I want to just extrapolate my own understanding because you added an interesting piece there at the end.
Okay.
It seems like in an honor culture, your self-worth is determined by your own ability to keep your word,
to protect and provide.
Yeah, your reputation.
Yeah.
And the accumulation of your past actions and like the ongoing narrative about you and your actions communally and to yourself. Mm-hmm. So it's like somebody else, an authority, can talk shit, but it would just bounce off if you are solid in your own.
Because you are your deeds in that kind of culture.
Yes, and that can't be altered by somebody else's words.
Exactly.
Whereas
people who know the truth.
It sounds like in the dignity culture,
hearsay comes into play.
Your self-worth is dependent upon some other outside source, whether
social,
it's the herd,
popularity,
or the government, or whatever it is, and all of those things are swirled together in this modern culture.
Yeah.
Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, it sounds right. Sure.
So what's the self-worth in the victimhood?
Zero. You derive self-worth from your ability to appear worthy, to appear just.
You say that's like
point your
virtue,
finger at someone. Virtue signaling.
virtue signaling, but
Yes.
wouldn't beyond that, it's like people feel more important the more put upon they are.
Well, that's what I mean. It's the victimhood thing. The more oppressed you are, the more under duress you are, the more things that are wrong with you or things that have happened to you, the more clout you have in a victimhood culture. And that's weird to me. Super weird.
Yeah.
To use these things as a badge of honor rather than to overcome them, to heal from them and make that a chapter in your life that built your character. You just stay stuck in that. And you know, if you have a culture that supports that idea that if you're a victim, then you're to be put on a pedestal or to be like, you know, somehow treated special, that's ridiculous to me. Like, it's just alien. Doesn't make any sense.
It does sell a lot of pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
But it doesn't make people, you know, grow through the trials and ordeals that they overcome.
No, there's no growth, there's no individuation, there's no, you know, nothing. You don't learn anything. You just learn how to whine better. And that's bullshit.
So it sounds like there's this connection integrating primal energy and the responsibilities of modern men in relationships. A responsibility is to have honor and not be a victim.
Yeah. Tell the truth and take responsibility.
To be anti-victim, you know, to see the good in things, recognizing that even if something shitty happens, there's some good contained in it. It's an opportunity, and even if it seems terrible in every way, it's making you grow in a way. It's the opportunity to integrate some old karma and to learn and become more and to change the pattern of your life and other people's lives that you interact with. So everything is an opportunity.
Yes, it is.
A friend of ours says lessons and blessings. And it's like everything that happens to you is a lesson and a blessing. And I feel like
You just got to see it.
you need to have that perspective. For one, that's your responsibility as a man.
Yeah.
And two is the ability to hold that with calm, strong reserve in the face of opposition. There's somebody screaming in your face.
Do not lose your temper.
No, you know.
No point. You're just mirroring them at that point.
Unless, you know,
not a mirror.
unless there's a threat
You're
to
a
your
rock.
life.
You shatter the mirror.
There's no point in going to that place.
Exactly.
And staying calm and handling it like a gentleman. That is a responsibility that is lacking largely.
Yeah. What was I going to say? The good that comes from hardship. Did you get that from Jocko?
No.
Jocko is somebody who, that's the first person I like, maybe not the first person, but one of the more prominent people who I heard or read, I can't remember, you know, something bad happens to you, good. I can't remember, it was either him or one of his soldiers, you know, he would always say, good. If they came to him with a problem, all right, good. Oh, your car broke down? Good. Now you can learn how to fix a car. You know, shit like that. You got to find that silver lining. You have to find the good in every problem. And
yeah, there's, you know,
that mindset change has helped me tremendously.
a thing in Buddhism called the second arrow. And it's exactly this. It's like, even if, you know, just like the benefits of celebrating the good within the bad, that is a high level of achievement. But I would say, even if we bring it back a layer to, okay, the car got a flat tire or whatever, that's shitty in and of itself.
Yeah.
But if I get upset about the shitty thing that happened, so let's say the car getting the tire, that's the first arrow. You got hit with an arrow. But if you get mad or, you know, about this thing that can't be changed, then you're shooting yourself with a second unnecessary arrow, adding insult to injury.
I like that.
And that is something that people do a lot.
All the fucking time. I'm guilty of it too sometimes. You know, not perfect. I try to be.
But once you notice it and become aware of it, you know, it's naturally, I think it happens less and less.
Yeah.
And we have these ingrained patterns and ways of reacting that we learn from our parents and cultural figures and role models of like what it means to be a certain way and how you're supposed to be. And that, I think, is the responsibility, of like evolving beyond that. This is another level, but I think we're taking it. Yeah, let's explore this. I think another responsibility of all humans, but specifically in this context of men, is to understand what your personal values are, what you think, what you desire, and what you feel beyond and outside the influence of what people think you should think.
Yeah.
What you think you're supposed to want or feel in a situation. What is it that you actually want? Not what the culture thinks you should want or want do you want. What do you want?
Yeah.
And to tell the truth about that is a rare superpower in today's world.
Really?
I think so.
I feel like if I couldn't do that, I would lose my mind.
Well, I agree with you. I think a lot of people think they're doing that and they're operating off of false values. Mm-hmm. The amount of fulfillment and happiness and gratitude that we feel is in direct proportion to the amount of alignment between our actions and what we truly value at like a soul blood level.
Yeah.
So if anyone is miserable, there's a misalignment. Mm-hmm. They're living in ways that they don't value, so they don't feel grateful for it, so they don't feel happy. Mm-hmm. And it's not like a one singular switch on and off. It's like a vast spectrum of, and hierarchy. It is a hierarchy of values, and maybe in some areas people are aligned and not fully in other areas. But that responsibility to know where you stand, what hill you're willing to fucking die on. I'm not going to budge unless you slit my throat. And to bring that to the strength of your containment, to hold a woman and to hold a course of life and providing and protecting whenever somebody, whether it's her or anything in the culture or just a situation that happens in life, not being wishy-washy about, where you stand and what you think, being certain and taking action with conviction behind it 100% is a responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's a lot of work.
How does integrating our wild, primal nature facilitating that?
Well, it goes back, it kind of circles back to the experience thing. You have to know your abilities. You have to know yourself. How can you know yourself if you haven't been punched in the face? You don't know what you can take until you try, until you step out of your comfort zone, get into some shit, whatever that shit may be. Hopefully it's not too bad. Hopefully it's like a controlled, like you go spar with somebody at a boxing gym or something. Like modern men, oftentimes, I think, at least a lot of the ones that I've met, don't have any opportunities, or they don't understand how to seize the opportunity for themselves. They didn't have someone necessarily to build their confidence enough to have that conviction that they didn't, that maybe they had enough stuff just handed to them that they didn't have to go out and get it and actually have to work for something. Like, how many guys in the world today, like, never picked up a tool, never got a blister on their hand? You have to, I'm not saying go be a slave and break your back, but you have to know the value of a hard day's work and really the value of your time doing that work. And it's more than just what a boss writes on a check. You have to decide that for yourself. So many people are given, a metric of their own worth from external sources, and that's not the way. It's not. You have to get it from inside and tell them, this is what I'm worth, not what you say. Fuck what you say.
Yeah.
Supply
and demand is a factor too. I think I hear two things in what you're saying. One is just the value of hard work itself, specifically physically, and the way that reveals self-knowledge. Is like blood, sweat, and tears
Yeah.
are teachers
Oh, yeah.
for men.
Sure.
And they're irreplaceable teachers in many ways.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing my answer to this question that has come to me listening to you speak, we used to hunt to get the things that we needed. And I think people will be a lot more happy generally, especially today with the world's highest suicide and mental health rates, depression rates, whatever, in small hunting bands, going out, cutting up with your friends, killing some shit, eating it around a fire, telling stories, going to sleep, waking up, doing that again.
Yeah.
Much, much, much happier existence. So, however, I'm stating there's an old memory, a predatorial memory of killing something, capturing something that you need to sustain your existence.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that is a part of who we are.
Yes.
And if we don't integrate it, we're being the thing that is captured and eaten, or part of us is doing that to a part of ourself. Yeah. And, that's where illnesses come in. But so within work, even if it's typing on a computer and doing a sales call, seeing the game and the hunt as on and going out and attacking something and, being told no, being told that's fucking stupid, whatever it is, it's like encountering resistance in pursuit of your desire and your ability to provide wealth and resources for yourself, whether that's food or money, this pursuit of that in an active sense, encountering the resistance that comes with that, the way that clarifies and strengthens what's true and, burns away that which is false within people.
Oh, yeah. Like bravado. I want to see, like the guys I'm hanging out with, I want to know if something goes south for whatever reason, that they're not going to piss down their leg and run away. You know what I mean? I don't want to be around people like that. I don't want those to be my friends. Because when the chips are down, what are they going to do? They're going to leave me hanging. I can't tell you how many times that's happened to me in my life. You've never done it, but so many others have.
I think that this reminds me of something you said earlier. There's different castes of people, Indo-European, the triune, it's like the priest, king, magician, judge caste, the warrior, protector class, and then the artisan provider. Agricultural, fertility, reproduction, providing caste. And maybe caste isn't the right word, but they're different sections that each provide a role and are all needed in their interaction with each other. So I say, like, not everybody needs to be the protector. However, I think specifically with men, there has to be a phase of proving that you're capable.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of this. I've seen statistics like the most well-armed countries have the lowest rates of violence. There's some exceptions within the U.S. for various reasons. But
ain't there a town in Texas where everybody walks around packing?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, outside of illegal guns and that thing, I'm saying like where it's a part of the culture. That honor thing that you talked about before, knowing that there's something backing this up and there's training and I went through something and I know what I'm doing with this and when it's appropriate, when it's not appropriate.
Well, if you live in an honor culture, you don't want to be going around pissing people off because you don't know what that guy knows. It makes you more polite by nature. It's just like there's honor cultures in America today. In a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms, boxing gyms, places where if you walk in there and you mouth off to the wrong person, they're going to show you why you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and to play devil's advocate, I've trained with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I would say that the people who train the most are the least likely, like the people who seriously train. I think there's like a maturity level and skill level. So like high military level people that do this sort of thing for a living, say they're out on the street and someone is talking shit. They know that way that force can escalate.
Oh yeah.
And someone can fall and hit their head or whatever the fuck, and then
Accidents
you're in jail.
happen. Oh yeah.
Over a verbal disagreement.
Over some drunk, stupid shit.
At the same time, I mean, having the control of scaling force, maybe using just the like the maximum level appropriate of force to de-escalate the situation into peacefulness, or just leaving, which might not seem like an honorable thing to do, but if at the end of the day it means you get to go home to your family and you keep to get provided,
you have to. That's the manly thing. Make sure that you can continue to sustain your family. It is not the right way to, I gotta.
That's usually young men trying to prove a point because they don't have a family to provide for.
Yeah, but they ain't gonna get one either doing shit like that.
Yeah, but there's levels of maturity to the honor.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Oh yeah.
Scope of view.
Yeah.
That's an interesting point because I have found there's a certain level of integration of the primal nature, let's talk about within certain sport gyms where they're not usually facing life or death. There's some exceptions. I mean, choking someone out, you could kill them, and to get choked out, you're definitely facing.
It feels,
it has that level. But to me, there's a difference between that and social violence being a monkey dance to establish one's place within the hierarchy of a group. The intention really not being to maim or destroy someone.
Oh no, you're not killing anybody.
Because they're actually valuable for the hunt the next day.
Yes.
And you don't want to injure them.
Exactly.
But asocial violence is a lion eating a gazelle.
Yeah.
And in warfare and
the
context of actual violence between competing parties, that's the real world, I would say, is asocial violence. And I see a lot of these gyms where people are blind to the existence of asocial violence.
I heard about a guy who was a trainer. He was I forget what for, some kind of special forces or something. He was training guys. At the time, I guess he was real heavy training into how to disarm a pistol off somebody. And a training artifact of his was after he performed the move, he would hand the pistol back. Yeah. And I guess he got stuck up in the street one day and he took the guy's gun and handed it back to him compulsively. That's kind of crazy to me. That's exactly what you're talking about, I think.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. You fight the way that you train. And same thing, if somebody gets into a bar fight and they're a jiu-jitsu practitioner and the person taps, they're going to let go, and that person could grab a knife and stab them 6 times and they fucking die because of
as long as they're not stupid, they won't let go.
That's true. There's a level of reactiveness. I think it depends.
I shouldn't say stupid, mindful. You have to be mindful. Yeah.
It could go either way. It depends.
I've been stupid before too.
I think what the thing that I was getting to, there's this level of perpetual immaturity, and maybe I don't have a wide enough branch of exposure, but I feel like there's something more beyond just the sport arts that seems to be required to create this actual responsible male partner. There's a lot of people that train in martial arts that don't get that.
You got to be in real danger. That's the thing. You don't know yourself as well unless you're put into those sort of situations.
You think that's what the difference is?
I think that's a difference. I think it can be an important difference for some people, but everybody's different. So, like, being exposed to asocial violence early on, as I was, made me a lot more respectful of these things. But I never forgot that asocial violence existed when I started training in martial arts. I was always in the back of my mind thinking, like, this could go wrong. This guy might try to see me outside if he doesn't like me or something like that. It's just maybe it was ingrained in my nature in a way that was not ideal, but it's there, and it has been helpful.
Yeah, you've grown. A lesson and a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've had those encounters too growing up, and I'm grateful for the way that they've shaped and molded me.
Oh, yeah.
I think that people at least need a teacher that has had that experience. If there's like sport people teaching sport people who teaching is like third generation removed, none of them have ever been in real violence.
They're
At
just
that
teaching,
point, it's just cocky ego shit that's not
or you're teaching how to win trophies.
how to win trophies. Yeah, there's discipline, there's benefit to it. It's better than not doing it.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
that
true.
there's like a sort of poisonous emotional immaturity that can be laced into those things.
Sure.
In my experience.
Yeah.
Why you're training matters.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the reason why people should train? I guess the whole video we've been talking about it
Yeah.
is a good reason to why.
We're just going to circle back to the protection thing, the provision. And one thing that that I mentioned at the beginning, but maybe has been overlooked a couple of times, is teaching. A man teaches too. You have to be able to train people to know what you know and do what you can do. That's how we make more, worthwhile people, for lack of better phrasing. But the reason for training is simply to make sure that you are capable of doing your job, what you need to be doing, protecting who you need to protect. You may not need to fight to eat, but back in the day, shooting a bow at a deer was not that much different than shooting a bow at an enemy. You still had to know how to use the tools of that trade, but they were a lot more ambiguous. They were for whatever, either protection or provision.
Hunting was the training wheels for war.
Exactly.
Universally
Yes.
in all cultures.
Oh, yes. And, maybe that's something that, even now though, it's so much different firing a gun at an animal rather than shooting a bow. So much different.
Yeah.
There's a completely different level of skill. They're separate skills.
I think we take it
entirely
back
anyway.
to maintaining this like peaceful, respectful, gentlemanly demeanor. A sense of contrast and comparison. I think of just some imaginary person that's lived a sheltered life and has been provided for. If a tiny thing goes wrong, they're upset about it. Whereas somebody that's been through a lot of shit and healed and integrated and grown through it, or even sought out tumultuous situations, trials and ordeals for them to overcome. And by comparison, anything that happens in life, they're like, you know what, this isn't that bad.
I've been through worse.
Yeah, I've been through worse. I
yeah.
survived that, I'll survive this.
You don't know how many times I say it to myself.
Yeah, people with physical training, when you wake up and do something hard physically in the morning, for the rest of the day, by comparison, that stuff is easy.
Yeah. So, it's just...
So where should people start if they have no idea what to do?
Where should people start if they have no idea what to do? That really depends on a person's situation, what they can do, like what they know they can do already, and
Let's just
they have the means to do.
Let's be extreme for the sake of education purposes. There's out there, an older teenager addicted to porn and video games and just sits on the computer in his mom's basement. This is just stereotype of...
You know what I would prescribe for that person?
What?
A heroic dose of mushrooms and a lot of introspection after.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Kill it at the root.
Oh my. that kind of thing, if you because everybody knows in their heart if they're doing something that's bad for them or wrong for them. Everybody knows this. They also know what's good for them. Whether or not they actually choose to acknowledge it, maybe they ignore it, maybe they've pushed it into their subconscious. Integrating that would be helpful too. That's kind of what the shrooms are for. It's a forced shadow integration. You ain't got nothing better to do right now but this. So that's what a bad trip, there ain't no bad trips. They're just shadow integration trips and ones that you don't do that, so you don't have to. I don't know.
I don't know if I agree with that last statement. the way that it can reprogram you in a bad way. It can make
That's
you worse
fair.
off than before you did it. But
That's fair. That's
I
fair.
do agree that perhaps 5 grams in a dark room by yourself.
I thought it was 7. Heroic dose is 7.
7, yeah. I think it's 5 as I learned it. But
5 for you, 7 for me.
regrettably, I agree with you about this.
Regrettably.
Yes. Let's say
Oh God.
that this person can't get any shrooms.
Oh my God. Okay.
Then what should they do?
So I've met people like this and
I met this guy.
I've tried to help people like this. And one thing I learned when talking to these people is if they're not receptive, I am being nice.
They're listening.
If they're not receptive, they're not going to change. They have to want to change.
Well, I say they have that small voice in the back of their head, and it's like if they, you could be the light that provides an opening for them to go down. For the people that are ready, what is the path? What is the one thing?
Stop doing what you know is bad for you. Like, there is so much in the way of resources on, like, porn bad, junk food bad. Yeah, we all know that. But you have to actually listen. Like, it doesn't even matter if you know all the ins and outs of why it's bad. You know it's bad. Stop doing it. It is rotting your brain. It is rotting your body. If you want to actually be a functional man, a man that a woman can look at like, damn, I want him to provide for me. I want him to protect me. Then you have to take full responsibility for everything in your life, including the bad shit. Even if somebody else did it to you, it doesn't matter. You have to take responsibility for it, and you have to make an effort to change for the better. The only thing that you need to do is be a little bit better than you were the day before. Progress does not look the same for everybody. So you have to take the steps to actually improve. You have to stop eating junk food. You have to start working out. You have to start training in some sort of martial art. You have to start, feeling your feelings. People don't do that anymore. They ignore them. You have to, be okay feeling emotions and understanding them so that you know that when they come on, you can control yourself. You have to know yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you don't know yourself, then I don't know what you're doing.
I think you really hit the nail on the head there. I would say, obviously stop doing the bad things that you're doing that aren't good.
Oh yeah, I'm talking to you guys. Sorry, not you. You already know all this.
Everybody. But I think coming home to your body and telling the truth about what you feel is also a super taboo act for men in general in our culture. We're taught to deny and suppress. And it makes sense because you need to keep your shit together in certain situations.
You do.
You can't feel your
100%.
emotions unfold. But when you have time and space, and to be that calm presence, you have to know yourself and feel and move through the pain. You can't, it's like, whether it's drugs, video games, porn, Netflix, these are devices to move away from the thing that hurts, that you don't want to face.
Yeah.
Feeling it, telling the truth about it, and going through it and coming out on the other side. So just continually coming home to your body, feeling your body, and telling the truth about what you feel to yourself. And taking responsibility for everything in your life as an exercise for a week. Recognize that ultimately forever, but start out, try it for a week. Everything that happens.
Stop after a week, you're a man now.
Everything that you feel, say, this is my fault.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe this is my responsibility.
Yes.
Fault has a negative
that is exactly what I was going to say.
tinge to it, but yes, this is my responsibility. Every single thing that happens to you is your responsibility.
Negative self-talk is a big problem with people these days, young people, actually anybody really. Like, it's so common and prevalent that it's like part of memes. Like, people just say terrible shit about themselves for fun. You shouldn't do that. It programs your subconscious to actually believe that shit.
Calling things sick or ill.
Yeah.
There's a
badass. That's what I say.
There's a negative Orwellian doublespeak thing that has gone beyond just bureaucratic legalese and infiltrated culture in weird ways.
Yeah.
All right, so I think those are some good actionables. We can end on that note.
Sure.
Until next time.
Bye.